Naomi breezed into the flat, only to be met by the piercing stare of her husband. "What's kept you so long, Naomi?" Blake inquired, his voice tinged with suspicion. Clutching an empty garbage bin, Naomi responded, "Just dumping the trash," as she handed over the hollow bin to her husband. Blake frowned deeply. "Why the fibs, Naomi?" he pressed. "You handed me the bin. Clearly, tossing garbage wasn't your real errand." "Oh, and what do you reckon I was up to?" Naomi retorted, her words smooth as she sidestepped him, making her way to the kitchen. "I need you to spell it out for me, Naomi," Blake persisted, tailing her into the kitchen. "From your own lips." "I was out with the bin," Naomi repeated firmly, stowing away the empty bin and pulling a new trash liner from the cupboard to fit it inside. "Missed a beat there," Blake mused silently. "Why load the whole bin when just the liner needed changing? So it's about the bin, is it?" "A pail," Blake murmured disbelievingly. "If you were disposing of the rubbish, you'd only need one bag. There would be no need for a pail," he challenged. Naomi maintained her composure and calmly replied, "The bag tore, and so I had to resort to the pail." Blake silently thought, "She believes she's deceived me, but I can see right through her." "So you insist that you use the pail to remove the garbage?" Blake probed. Without hesitation, Naomi asserted, "I absolutely insist." Blake's tone grew reproachful. "Naomi, aren't you ashamed? You're a grown woman. Your son just got married. And yet, you stoop to such actions. Tell me where you've been. I'm kindly asking for an explanation." Unable to contain her frustration any longer, Naomi exclaimed, "I was taking out the pail." Perplexed, Blake questioned her. "For a mere 3 minutes, you claim?" Confused, Naomi responded, "Why 3 minutes? Seems I've been keeping track of the time." Blake bellowed, brandishing a stopwatch at Naomi. "Exactly 3 minutes. Anything you'd like to confess, Naomi?" "No." "All right then, just remember, you won't be able to dodge this forever." "I'm aware." Naomi moved back towards the hallway, with Blake trailing behind her. "Planning to head out?" Blake inquired, noticing his wife slipping into her coat. "Just off to the shop." "The shop? Again? Just how long do you think you can keep this up? Who do you think you're deceiving, Naomi? You were just there yesterday. And what of it? You mean to tell me you're hitting the shop today too? We've run out of sugar." "Oh, goodness gracious. We've completely run out of sugar." "All right. Why on earth didn't you purchase it yesterday?" "Yesterday, when I went to the store. Yesterday, I genuinely believed that we had an ample supply of sugar. And Naomi, I hope you're not fibbing. I assure you, I'm not fabricating any tales." "Oh, Naomi, do not deceive me. Oh, please don't deceive me. I'm your loving husband, and here you are, putting me through this agony. I am genuinely telling you the truth." "The truth?" Blake exclaimed once more. "If you are indeed speaking the truth, why can't I bring myself to believe you, Naomi? I honestly do not know why. I just know it. You've got to be cheating on me. I can feel it deep down. Be straight with me, Naomi. Have you found another man?" "No, I haven't," Naomi replied with composure. "Naomi, ever since our boy tied the knot and moved out, you're like a different person," Blake remarked. "It's like I don't know you anymore. Could there really be someone else? Just be honest with me. I'd rather hear the truth than live a lie." "I'm telling you the truth," Naomi said firmly. "There's no one else. Then why were you out with the trash for 3 whole minutes?" Blake burst out. "And now this grocery run on top of everything. Wasn't it him you were talking to at the garbage chute for those extra minutes? Didn't he arrange to meet you at the store right then and there? Fess up, Naomi. If you want to go to the store, be my guest," Naomi said nonchalantly. "I'd much rather kick back on the couch and watch TV." "Ha!" Blake exclaimed once more. "Now everything makes sense to me. While I'm at the store, he'll come here. A lot can happen in 20 minutes. Why 20 minutes? Naomi protested. 40 is the minimum. 40. Blake shouted. And how much did you want? Naomi shouted back. It's just a 5-minute walk to the store, Blake continued. Buying sugar won't take more than 5 minutes. So Naomi, you can't have 40 minutes. 15, 20 at most, not a minute more. Silently, Naomi turned her head. What's the matter? No response. Blake taunted. So it turns out you wanted to spend that extra 20 minutes with someone else, right, Naomi? Come on, admit it. It'll make you feel better. But at that moment, Naomi's mind was preoccupied with other matters. I bet you won't be able to purchase sugar within the next 20 minutes, Blake, she playfully taunted. What? Blake reacted, feeling indignant. I'll have it in 15 minutes. Nah, it's impossible to get it in 20, she responded skeptically. I'll prove you wrong, Blake confidently declared. What's at stake? Care to make a wager? She proposed. If you lose, you must divulge everything to me, Blake suggested. And if I lose, you don't owe me any explanations. Let it rest on your conscience. Are we in agreement? She questioned. Just give it to me straight, Naomi. Blake insisted. I have no use for partial truths. You'll get nothing but the full story, Naomi replied. But first, make good on your promise to pick up the sugar in 20 minutes. Absolutely, I'll grab it. You can count on that, he affirmed. Afterwards, you need to spill the beans, his name, his origins, the length of your acquaintance, and how long you two have been an item. I'll lay all the cards on the table. Nothing will be omitted, she assured him. Remember, Naomi, this wasn't my idea, he pointed out. Are we putting a clock on this? She asked. Right now, declared Blake. Hold on. Let me get dressed and step out of the flat first. Then we can start timing, Naomi negotiated. It's a deal, agreed Blake. Asterisk, asterisk, how much sugar should we get? Asterisk, asterisk. 1 bag should be enough. Let's sync our watches, said Blake. They synchronized their timepieces. Blake got dressed, exited the apartment, and glanced at his wife. Time is ticking, Naomi remarked, eyeing her watch. Blake bolted towards the elevator. Naomi discreetly shut the door behind him and went back to watching TV. Should I take the stairs? Blake wondered as he stood by the elevator. Nah, that would take forever. I mean, we're on the 13th floor. Why is the elevator taking its sweet time? The minutes were slipping away. Blake checked his watch anxiously. 2 minutes passed, but still no elevator in sight. 3 minutes crept by. 4. I ought to be at the store by now. Blake fumed in impatience. After what felt like an eternity, the elevator doors finally slid open. Blake wasted no time, pressing the button for the first floor with haste. Deep within his thoughts, he silently pleaded, Please, oh please, don't let anyone delay me along the way. Surprisingly, the elevator came to a halt on the 3rd floor, yet not a soul stepped inside. The same peculiar occurrence took place on the 2nd floor. At long last, Blake arrived on the 1st floor, promptly checking his watch. A mere 6 minutes had passed since he began his descent, leaving him with a generous 14 minutes remaining. Hurriedly exiting the elevator, Blake dashed towards the nearest department store, part of a famous chain. In no time at all, he found himself standing before its grand entrance. Anxious and agitated, he approached an employee who appeared to be meticulously arranging merchandise on the shelves. Excuse me, can you please tell me where the sugar is? Blake inquired, the nervousness evident in his voice. The employee paused, then casually waved her hand in the direction of the sugar aisle. Without wasting a moment, Blake sprinted towards his destination. A sudden realization struck him as he made his way. His chosen bag of sugar had been torn open. Frantic, he hastily retraced his steps and exchanged the torn bag for a new one. Determined to make up for lost time, he charged towards the cashier's office. Alas, his vision was met with disappointment. Every single cash register, without exception, had a small but noticeable queue of customers waiting patiently. With frustration creeping in, Blake found himself darting from one cash desk to another, desperately seeking an available checkout. Yet in every instance, a line stood before him. "Folks!" Blake hollered, halting at one of the checkout lines. "Have a heart, would ya? Can I just grab a single bag of sugar without standing in line? I'm in a rush. Just one bag." Blake indeed was allowed to bypass the line. However, it turned out that the checkout where he had been given a pass didn't take cards. "Cash only," the middle-aged cashier said nonchalantly. "Well, it's about time," Blake mused. "Men are finally working the registers." Blake handed over a 5,000 note. "That's all I got," Blake explained. "Just my luck." The cashier grudgingly accepted the large bill. "Could you speed things up?" Blake implored. "I'm in a hurry. My wife is home alone and feeling under the weather. I'm worried about her." Eyeing Blake with a hint of distrust, the cashier began to scrutinize the bill. Once satisfied with its authenticity, he recorded the bill's number in a ledger, all while taking his sweet time. Eventually, he rang up Blake's purchase and handed over his change. When Blake departed from the department store and glanced at his timepiece, he discerned that he still possessed in excess of 3 minutes. "I am punctual," Blake ruminated, and hastened towards his abode. It required a duration of an hour and a half for him to traverse the distance back home. "You're fortunate," he expressed to his spouse, as I found myself ensnared within the confines of the elevator. Uttering an exclamation of satisfaction, Naomi inwardly ruminated, "Ah, how delightful! Now I can enchant you with an iota of jealousy." "Do not regale me with tales of whimsy," Naomi retorted. "He became lodged within the elevator, you say?" "Merely to extricate himself from the domicile, perchance." "Truly, I became ensnared within the elevator," Blake vociferated, "and it transpired without intent. I did not orchestrate the circumstances. Did you encounter her?" She interrogated. "Do not dissemble. Speak the truth. The only thing I implore is veracity." "Who with her?" Blake bellowed. "I know you got someone else, Blake," Naomi said. "What rubbish!" Blake yelled back. "How can you claim to know something when you don't?" "I just sense it, deep down," Naomi insisted. "That's impossible, Naomi. You can't feel what's not there." "It's all in your head," Blake retorted. "Aren't you embarrassed, Blake?" Naomi pressed on. "You're a grown man. Even your son just tied the knot, and yet here you are, behaving like this. Just tell me where you've been. I'm asking you nicely." "I was at the store, picking up sugar," Blake bellowed. Naomi had grown all too familiar with her husband's feeble excuses. "Let him step into my shoes," she thought triumphantly. "Perhaps then he'll grasp something." "And you dedicated an hour and a half to this?" Naomi retorted. "You expect me to buy it?" Blake defended himself. "I was trapped in the elevator for well over an hour. Then why didn't you give me a call?" "What difference would it have made?" Blake responded. "What difference would it have made? I would have known where you were, Blake. But you chose not to call. Why?" "I didn't call for a simple reason," Blake shouted. "I simply didn't have the desire to speak with anyone at that particular moment. Especially not you." Naomi was taken aback, asking, "And why is that?" "Because when I realized I was stuck in the elevator, I was overcome with such sorrow that it was unbearable, and I wept." "Tears, really?" Naomi expressed her astonishment even deeper. "Absolutely," Blake retorted. "Because I was convinced that while I was trapped in that blasted elevator, you were likely with someone else. And I felt so powerless. That's why I wept. Makes sense. I get it," Naomi acknowledged. "Okay, level with me, Naomi. Is there someone else?" Blake implored. Can't you see this is tearing me up? Show me some compassion." "I would have been straight with you, Blake. I truly would have," Naomi started. "I'd have laid it all out for you. But you were gone for 20 minutes just to get sugar. Therefore, I'm keeping Mum. By the way, Blake, where is the sugar?" Blake glanced around, then turned to his wife, looking bewildered. "Where have you been, Blake?" Naomi demanded sharply. Only then did it hit Blake that he had forgotten the sugar at the register. "I was at the store," Blake replied, "buying sugar. I left it at checkout. Then I got stuck in the elevator. Why do you trust me, Naomi?" Naomi stared at her husband sternly without a word. "By the way, Naomi," Blake went on, "it's not my fault. You should feel bad about this. I'm not hiding anything, and I know you got secrets." Still, Naomi said nothing, maintaining her silent, unyielding stare. Her expression grew even more severe.